Hi, everybody. Pen here with Yogacises. I have Tracie Susalis-Braunstein. How do you say your name?
Susalis-Braunstein.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm excited to have her here. Thank you for being here with us. She is specialized in Ayurvedic healing, and she has a new course coming up. So I'll let her take over and tell us about her background, how she got started with this, and why she's following this path.
Thanks, Pen. Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday. So I hope your listeners have just a minute, because my background is sort of three parallel paths that are finally starting to interweave. So just bear with me for a second. For the past 20 years, I've been a graphic designer and art director in advertising mostly. But over the course of the years, I've been really transitioning into branding specifically. And I've worked with a lot of small business owners who are looking to brand their passion. Simultaneously, I've also developed so I've been doing that for about 20 years. About 15 years ago, I started developing this deep passion for wellness. All things wellness. I became a licensed massage therapist. I'm a Reiki master. I'm an Ayurvedic wellness coach. And Ayurveda, once I hit Ayurveda, that was home for me. I just love everything that it has to offer. But simultaneously, so my third path, I owned three businesses. I owned and operated a home cleaning business. I owned and operated a handmade invitation design business. And then up until 2 years ago, for 6 years, I owned and operated a soy candle and natural skincare business. All three businesses were successful, but none of them were fulfilling. It was Ayurveda that really, really, really tugged on my heartstrings. And I've really been able to help not only myself, but a lot of people with Ayurveda. So the course that I've developed is actually an interweaving of all three of my paths. And it's called The Brand in the Mirror. So nobody teaches us how to be business owners. We decide we want to be a business owner, and it takes a lot of trial and a lot of error to find our way in the business world. And what I found while working one-on-one with my design clients is that, well, first of all, by working one-on-one with a business owner and designing their branding, I organically became their business coach. Sort of guiding them to what the best practices were for their specific industry. But even when they had their beautiful branding and they were off doing their own thing, I realized that no matter what industry I was working with, there was still one problem. And that was we let fear get in the way. So I know your listeners you may be wondering, and your listeners may be wondering, what does wellness have to do with owning a business? And the answer really is, it has everything to do with it. When we have a full-time job, we go to our full-time job, our boss gives us a task, we do our task because we want to get paid. We want our vacation time. We want to keep our jobs. But when we become business owners, we have space to let the fears and the insecurities creep in. So if you're insecure about your body or your weight, and you might not be getting on social media like you need to be. If you have a fear around money, you may not be working with your target audience. You may be working with whoever will give you a buck because you're so afraid about money. If you're having self-worth issues, you may not be charging what you're worth. So branding is pretty, but we really need to start diving into what will make you a successful business owner. And that's where I have found the crossover. So Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old system of holistic medicine that comes out of India. And it includes everything. It's yoga, it's breathing, it's exercise, it's diet, it's lifestyle. It's a whole system of knowledge that brings the body into balance. It also rewires the nervous system and makes us more resilient to stress. And it starts unraveling all of these fears. It taps into the emotions that we're suppressing. So at our core, we're Shakti, we're energy. We're this beautiful flow of energy, and it's the little voice inside of us that's whispering all the time. It's whispering all the time, and we hear it all the time, but we don't listen to it. And we let those fears and insecurities prevent us from listening to our hearts and our soul. And that's really what that little voice is. It's our bodies and our intuition and our higher selves trying to communicate with us. So once you start to develop an Ayurvedic practice, you start chipping away at the unprocessed food in your body. You start chipping away at the unprocessed emotions in your body. You clear out ama, which are toxins in the body. And we start to unravel the fears that are holding us back. And what we're left with after that, after we do all of that cleansing and we replenish ourselves and we nourish ourselves, what we're really left with is space. And we're left with space for creativity. That's really when the Shakti begins to flow, and that little whisper gets louder and louder and louder. And it gets to a point where you can't ignore it anymore, and you have to follow your soul's purpose. And that's really what your customers are buying into. That's what they're investing in. They're not investing in your product or service. They're investing in you. And we need to get past those blocks to really serve our fellow human. So it's not about being perfect. It's about just getting out there and getting started. So do you have any questions?
Just because I mentioned before to you, but not a lot of listeners, but basically I'm starting to get into Ayurvedic as well. I've been wanting to for the past 4 years, but I never, went for it, focused, so now because of a lot of things that happened in my life recently, I'm like, oh my God, this is meant for me to focus on and then do something about it. So I've been looking into it in terms of for health purpose and not linking it to business, although I do run my businesses and I work full time. So there's a lot going on with the business world and also, health. And now it really opened up for me to think about not just for health, but how it can apply to business. So that's really interesting. How do you work with clients? Do you work with them one-on-one or group, or do you do both?
I do both. I love doing one-on-one work, but I also love doing group work. When you do group work, you're automatically creating a community, and you really need community. One of my teachers, I loved what she said, Mary Thompson. She said, Ayurveda is simple, but it's not easy. You're really transforming your life. You're making significant lifestyle changes. And so they're small. Everything in Ayurveda is incremental and cumulative, but they're difficult, especially if you're working full time, or if you're a mom, or if you're caring for a sick friend or loved one. It's difficult. So even if you're just making a simple lifestyle change, you have lifestyle stresses that make that little change a little bit difficult. So when you work with groups, you're automatically creating community and a support system, which is really nice. But to answer your question too, when I work one-on-one, I do it all online. So I can work with clients anywhere in the world and throughout the country, which is really cool. It's really opened up my target audience. It's nice.
That's awesome. That's my goal as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's awesome. So I'm thinking in terms of like the doshas, the body constitution, and everybody could be different, and we don't really have one specific one of each type. They're like certain percentage of each one. And so when you're working, with a group of people, how do you deal with everybody's different body constitutions and
when I'm working
goals for that?
Oh, sorry. When I'm working in a group setting, it's basically a workshop. So I have another workshop that hasn't quite become a course yet. So what it is, it's in sections of 4. We talk about diet. We talk about women's health because we are getting really incorrect information about our bodies. We talk about just an overall intro to what Ayurveda is. So it's basically a workshop, but from there, I get one-on-one clients.
And so everything's online. And do you do one-on-one, like in person as well?
I haven't yet. I really don't have a space to rent out, and I haven't really had a need to. It's been all online except for the workshops. So the workshops are in person, and then I get my one-on-one clients based on those workshops too.
Thank you. Can you give like maybe some examples of like the different types, body types, and maybe go into a little more detail about them and if like the person is imbalanced or needs basically extra work on that certain area? How would you approach that?
Well, what I can say is in Ayurveda, we all have our natural constitution that is created at the moment of our conception. So our doshas, our primary doshas, it is what it is at the moment of conception. But we come out of balance, and I can guarantee you that if you live in the Northeast, you're imbalanced. There's just too much going on over here. We have New York City. It's a lot of stress. So it's a guarantee that if you're living over here, you have an imbalance. So in Ayurveda, you always treat the imbalance before you nourish the natural doshas. A good example that I can give you is it's summertime. This is the Pitta time of year. Pitta is fiery. It's hot. It's sharp. It's oily. So for everyone, we should be wanting cooler foods like cucumbers or mangoes, coriander, fennel, all foods and herbs that will cool our system down. Coconut water, aloe. And then we also want to be seeking out cooling activities. If you're sitting in traffic driving down to the Jersey Shore, it happens. Try to be patient because tempers flare around this time of year. So breathing exercises, going for a swim, anything that cools the system down. During this time of year, maybe stay away from spicy foods. I know it's beach season and it's barbecue season, but try to limit your alcohol intake. So that's for everybody, but people with a Pitta constitution, so me specifically, I'm Pitta Kapha, during this time of year, I especially want to stay away from fiery foods. I especially want to take the time to do my pranayama and my asanas and keep it cool, man. Just chill out because this is a hot time of year. Maybe as we enter the fall and the winter, then we could start working those spices back in. At the same time, if somebody has an imbalance, they may require, even though it's summer, they may require eating spices in their food. So it depends. It really depends. An overall blanket statement is we want to keep cool. But if somebody has an imbalance that requires spicing, we'll start incorporating spicing. So we always treat the imbalance first.
Because you're talking about all the spices and the herbs, that reminds me, my mom's an acupuncturist and she's an herbalist, so I kind of know something about Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic, that they're similar in terms of some of the herbs and what it does, like the underlying reason. Like, for example, you said cucumber is cooling. In Chinese medicine, cucumber is cooling as well. That's the nature of cucumbers. So things like that, right?
It's really a nice overlap. When you start looking at Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, there's this beautiful overlap. And even if you start getting into ancient Greek medicine, there's this beautiful overlap. It's really nice.
Oh my gosh, my question just escaped me. I was thinking, oh yeah, I was looking at my Ayurvedic books, because you mentioned yoga, different poses and things like that for specific doshas. How do you, like, let's just say I just go to a regular yoga class without knowing about it in advance. It includes like different yoga poses and everything. What if I end up going to a class or I really like a style of yoga that doesn't fit into my constitutional yoga?
That is a great question. So during this time of year, you may want to stay away from the hot yoga, especially people who have high pitta. So if you're run hot already, stay away from the hot yoga. Go do a restorative class, or go do a gentle flow class. Stay away from creating more heat in the body. Somebody who's a Vata constitution, who's very fast-paced, kind of going a million miles an hour, social butterfly, they need that grounding. So go take a restorative yoga class. Maybe stay away from the jogging for a week or two. Bring your body back into balance. So that's a great question. Yoga is fantastic. Meditation is fantastic. Breathing exercises are amazing. But you want to do what your body needs. So there are different types of, somebody who's kapha may not want to sit and meditate. They may want to do a walking meditation. Somebody who is vata may want to do, everybody should be doing yoga nidra. It's amazing. But especially somebody who's high vata may really want to invest the time to incorporate yoga nidra in their life. It's amazing. It really helps you tap into your intuition, quiet the mind, and deepen the breath. So it all depends. And that's actually, there's no yes or no in Ayurveda. It's maybe. It depends, because there's such a gray area, and it depends. There isn't a one size fits all lifestyle. Everybody is different. So it's really interesting. There's no yes or no. It's depends and maybe.
I don't know what's going on with me. I'm like blanking out. Oh yeah, I live in New Jersey, but I work in New York City, and you know how New York City is crazy. But surprisingly, the yoga classes, yoga studios in New York City, the most popular classes, doesn't matter what season it is, it would be like hot yoga or vinyasa or anything that you basically, it's like a gym style yoga where it's constantly moving and not like basically the opposite of that would be restorative or yoga nidra. So for me, because I'm always fast paced, moving and dealing with traffic and everything, when I go to classes, I would prefer a restorative yoga class or yoga nidra class. But I'm surprised how people in the city are drawn to hot yoga class more than the other classes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, we will always tend towards our nature. So if I'm high pitta, I want the spicy foods. That's what I want. I'm going to want the oily, unctuous foods. But you have to bring in awareness, and you have to really start listening to your body. So in August, I may want the buffalo wings or the jalapeno poppers. I may want to eat them, But I really have to bring in awareness and really ask the body, okay, what do you need right now? Because I want to eat spice and I want to drink my beer, but what do you need? And that's where awareness comes in. You start listening to the body. So there's what the ego wants, and then there's what cellular intelligence wants. And always follow the craving that your cells want. So if my body wants water, drink water. But if my ego wants to go and get a venti coffee from the local coffee place, maybe don't do that right now. And I'm not saying no. Now, if you want ice cream, now is the time to eat ice cream. It's summer, it's hot, we need to cool ourselves down. Go eat your ice cream. But in the dead of winter, I'll probably ask you to not eat ice cream because it's already cold out and we want to heat the body up. We don't want to keep cooling it down. So there's a lot of maybes, never yes and no, but it's about listening to the body and bringing awareness to not even every day, but every moment of our lives. What do we need in this moment?
And it's because sometimes, depending on the situation, like I can be an emotional eater and basically just go after what I want rather than what my body needs. And then, of course, you know what happens when you just go for what you want instead of what you need. You ended up feeling it. And
yes.
Yeah, definitely focus on what you need.
That goes back to what I said before, that there's this little voice inside of us that's always talking to us. You know, as we're going to grab that second piece of pizza, that little voice is going, please don't eat this. I really don't want this. I don't need this. But then there's us going, it'll be all right. And we eat the second and third and fourth slice of pizza. But that little voice is going, thanks. Now I have to process all of this. So I asked you not to eat it, but you ate it anyway. So now we have to work overtime to process it. So there's always the little voice. Listen to the little voice.
And also nowadays, you know, the stuff that they put in the food, that the processed stuff, and they put stuff that makes you just want to crave for more.
Mm-hmm. Marketing in a bag. It's crazy. I could go on and on and on about Ayurveda. Like I said, it's home for me. It is exactly what I needed, what my body needed. And it's where I was meant to be. So I could really go on and on and on. And I'd love to talk to you again when I take my workshop and create a course for it. I'd love to talk to you again. Because I can go on forever about the liver and it's women's health. It's a passion. I love it.
I'd love to have you back. I have returned people beyond. So definitely have you back on again. Another question as for the quizzes. You know, you go online, you go to different people's websites, and then they have the dosha quizzes and you know, get a thing. And I feel like although my numbers are kind of consistent, but the one page shows the mind. There's a result for the mind, and then there's like a result for the body. And then, but the other sites, they just give me one number. So when you do quizzes and stuff like that on your site or something?
I am actually, so I'm going to talk about my course. And what I do have to say is right now, if you look at my website, if you look at my Instagram, if you look at my newsletter, it's all very disjointed. It's about getting started and just moving forward and not waiting for everything to be perfect. But my site, which will be launching sometime later this week, will have a quiz on it. Now, I have conflicting opinions about quizzes. I think quizzes, I will have one on my site, and it's going to have a couple of questions just to get people thinking. And I think that's what quizzes are really good for, getting you thinking about your mind, body, and soul. But they don't tell you the whole story. You really, with a quiz, you just start tapping in, and they don't give you the complete story. They're interesting to look at. And like I said, it gets your mind going and you start thinking, but they don't tell you the complete story. very often, you know, I do an intake. So my intake is a whole bunch of questions because I need to get to know a person, what their natural constitution is like, what they tend to, what their imbalances are, what their stresses are, what they want in life. That is a huge question because very often we want one thing, but we're going in a completely opposite direction. But so they answer these questions, but there's a lot of conversation that happens in between the questions. So quizzes are great because they get you thinking, but there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen beyond the quiz.
Because as we're trying to answer them, I've noticed, like, you know, you get to choose one, right, for the choices. And sometimes I feel like I'm like both. Like, how do I decide which one? Because it needs more explanation, like you said.
I don't know the quizzes that you're looking at, but if you can assign, if you think you're Vata and Pitta for a particular question, you can assign that. So it can be split. You know, we can be, it's very rare that somebody is tridoshic, which means you have balance across all three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Most of us are dual dosha. So like I said, I'm Pitta Kapha. So it's not uncommon to have that split. So when you're answering these questions and they're asking you, you know, you can answer. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both.
All right. So can you explain a little bit about examples and what would fall under each of the three doshas?
Yes. Here's a good question for, you can really start to tap into what your natural constitution is if you look at digestive. If you look at your digestive system, do you tend to be constipated? That would be more Vata. Like within a half hour of eating, are you running to the bathroom? That would be a fiery digestive system. That would be more Pitta. After you eat, do you feel like the food just sits in your stomach and you feel kind of sluggish and you just want to go to sleep? That would be more of a Kapha constitution digestive system. So you can start taking, there are things that don't change. So like for females, if you look at your cycle, so how do you menstruate? Do you barely get your period? Can you skip months without having a period? Or when you get it, is the flow kind of light and it's barely there? That's more of a Vata. Pittas tend to be really, really heavy at the beginning of the period. So you get 1 to 2 days of really heavy flow, and then it sort of tapers off for the next 5 days. That's a Pitta. A Kapha will have a consistent flow for up to 10 days. So those are things that, like, your menstrual cycle doesn't change. There's another thing that you could look at. There are a couple of other things. Again, Mary Thompson, she's one of my favorite teachers. She taught me this little tool, and it's helped me tremendously, especially since I work with a lot of people remotely. If you take your thumb and your ring finger and you wrap it around your wrist, don't force it. If they overlap, that's a Vata body frame. If the fingers meet, that I can't see. Oh, you overlap. So that's a Vata body frame. If they just meet, that tends to be a Pitta body frame. And if they don't touch, that tends to be a Kapha body frame. There's one other thing that you could really look at, and that's stress. Under stress, what do you go to first? Do you get angry first? Do you get kind of depressed and lethargic first? Or do you get really fearful first? Vatas will tend towards fear. Pittas will tend towards a temper and getting angry. And Kaphas will tend to kind of just withdraw and get sort of lethargic. So there are things that you can look at straight away that will sort of give you an indication of what your natural dosha or natural two doshas are.
Okay, so I'm thinking in terms of like the digestion and women, the menstrual cycle. What if, let's just say, I didn't experience it, but I know people who have experienced it in terms of like having eating disorders for a period of time, like anorexia or bulimia or something, and lost a lot of weight or for whatever reason due to trauma. Then this period will stop for a few months because they don't have enough weight in their body to have that function. And how would that affect that? That would just be temporary, right? That wouldn't really affect the dosha.
Right. Well, first, I'm not a doctor. I think it's really important to say that. So in most cases, you can get that body having a regular cycle again. It all starts with digestion. We can also do a lot of emotional processing. So we use body yantra, so it's really getting into the bones. And I have no problem in saying that I work with an amazing network of practitioners and doctors. When something kind of scoots out of my scope of practice, I have great counselors that I can refer my clients to. But it starts with, in my world, in my case, in my scope, it starts with doing the work with digestion and starting to tap into the bones and really start to listen to the body and talk to the body. But when you get your diet under control, more often than not, you get that cycle back and put the weight back on and really start to love the body. That's something that I connect with a lot. I grew up, I've had body issues. It took me a really long time to fall in love with my body. So I've never had bulimia or anorexia, but I've had body issues where, this is it. This is what we get this lifetime, and love it or leave it, because this is it. So it takes a lot. So Ayurveda has been really helpful in that, finding a diet that works for me and finding ways to love my body. We haven't mentioned Abhyanga, and that's daily massage. That is one of the best ways to fall in love with your body. I mean, you're rubbing amazing oil on your body and just connecting with your body. It's one of the best ways you can practice self-love. So that's how I work with somebody with an eating disorder. It's diet, it's self-love.
As for massage and oils, is there specific recommendations of oils for different types?
Neem oil. Neem oil smells really medicinal, but it's not terrible. And a lot of people get kind of shy away from it because of the smell, but it's not that bad. And it's amazing for cooling the system down. So during the summer, Pitta would really benefit for a neem oil massage. And sunflower oil is also really fantastic. Sesame oil seems to be like the king of oils and really works nicely with all three doshas. But you can also add essential oils to it. It's really nice. Rose is one of my favorites during the summer. Like this morning, I have rose on my pulse points. So I did my neem massage, and now I have rose on my pulse points, and I feel like a goddess. It's amazing. That's what Ayurveda does. It makes you feel like a god or a goddess. It's just awesome. Because men need it too. It's not just for women.
Awesome. So far we mentioned nutrition, oils, essential oils, and what else do you do in terms of working with your clients? Do you, like maybe yoga, you mentioned pranayama?
What else? There's so much, man. There's just so much. It's like, no matter what the imbalance is, just this vast bag of Ayurveda tricks that I can pull out of the bag and say, this is going to work. One of the consistent things that everybody does, no matter what the imbalance is tongue scraping in the morning and drinking hot water. Tongue scraping, if you ever look at your tongue, the tongue tells you a tremendous amount about what's going on in the body. You could look at the skin and you can look at the tongue. The body is always talking to us and it's trying to tell us what's going on. So if you look at your tongue, very often there's a coating on there. So if you scrape, you're getting rid of ama. So that's excess toxins that are trying to escape the body. You just kind of help it out. Drinking warm water in the morning is fantastic because it helps to start flushing the system. So those are the two things that we could get started with: tongue scraping and drinking your warm water in the morning. It's like I said, they're lifestyle shifts. So you want to start small and you want to be comfortable with one habit before you start incorporating other ones.
Tongue scraping, what solution do you use and what tool do you use? Do you like use a toothbrush or like a little some sort of device or something?
I use Dr. Tung's tongue scraper, and it's Tung, T-U-N-G, and I think you can get it on Amazon. You can go to your natural food market. I think even Whole Foods has it. It comes in a little pretty sack. And the motion is you take it. I wish I had it with me. It's in the bathroom. It's this metal sort of, it looks like it's very thin. It's just a metal piece, and you scrape the tongue. You just go, and it takes some getting used to. You know, if you have, that you could gag a little bit, but it takes some getting used to, and it's well worth it. You want to do it like 10 times in the morning. You want to swish, brush your teeth, drink your hot water. The tongue is pretty sensitive, so I would avoid like brushing it with your toothbrush. The tongue scraper is meant to use in that motion and to scrape the tongue. So I would use the tongue scraper versus brushing your tongue.
All right, interesting. As for food diet, I think I've read like a lot of the books that said it's recommended to have a vegan diet or vegetarian diet because I eat meat, and how is that going to affect just like in terms of using the Ayurvedic approach for healing and everything? If you eat meat, there's really nothing wrong with that. It's how you prepare the food that's more important. And yes, a plant-based diet will be more beneficial for your body because of the nutrients and the way it cleanses the body. But I wouldn't I lean more towards a vegetarian diet. But it's just my lifestyle. I would never tell somebody who enjoys eating chicken to stop eating chicken. I would make recommendations on how to prepare the chicken and to maybe limit the amount of meat that you're eating in a week. But also, if you're going to eat meat, think of the sort of humane aspect behind it. Try to always find free range, unpasteurized, organic, grass-fed. Always look towards that end of a product. It costs a little bit more money, but it's more beneficial all around for the animal and then for us in the end. So I would never tell anybody to stop eating meat. It's about preparation and the quality of meat that you're getting. Okay. Let's see. So your courses, how you said soon they're coming out.
Yes.
So what are the length of the courses? How long?
The courses are evergreen and they take as long as you want. So there isn't a time frame on it. Everybody works at their own pace. But I am so excited about this course because it is one of a kind. It's so unique and it incorporates everything that we've talked about here. It's evaluating your brand and it's looking at your brand from a marketing standpoint. But then it's also, it's workbooks and it's webinars, much like every other course out there, but it's also self-reflection, it's meditations, it's connecting with a Facebook community of like-minded business owners, because nobody gets it like a business owner. You can talk all you want to your friends and family, but unless they own a business, they just don't get it. They don't understand the daily struggles and the constant roller coaster of emotions that go into owning a business, you know. But then it's also, so like I said, it's meditation, it's self-reflection, it's connecting with community. With my course, you also get a one-on-one 1-hour consultation with me, and then you get a 30-minute follow-up with me. And in between, you get email support. So after our one-on-one 1-hour consultation, I'll come up with a couple of, depending on our conversation, a couple of Ayurvedic steps and perhaps some design and marketing tools that they can use in an email between our 1-hour call and our 30-minute follow-up. And that's really it. Like I said, it's called the Brand in the Mirror. I'd like to offer your clients and customers a $50 discount. As a bonus, I've also enlisted the help of my husband, who's an a financial advisor. So there's a lot of financial wellness goes into owning a business as well. And there are a lot of things that we don't think of when we're leaving a full-time job that we should really be looking into, like what's happening with your 401k. What's happening with your life insurance? Will you still have life insurance after you leave your job? And there's a lot of also insurance aspects that we don't know. And so I've enlisted the help of him because our financial wellness is also important to the entire wellness of our business and our lives. So he offered up a lot of important tips and tools for small business owners specifically. But that's it. It's called The Brand in the Mirror, and it launches on August 15th. And if your listeners sign up for my newsletter, they'll be the first to know about when the launch is. And if they use the code Yogacises50, they'll receive $50 off of their course as well.
I love the name, so creative. Like I always have trouble like coming up with names. That's like one of my biggest challenges. I have ideas. I'm like, what should I name this? And I'm just stuck on the name.
That was the little voice. I listened to the little voice. This course was nagging at me for a really long time. And I struggled with it myself. I was like, what's wellness have to do with marketing? What's Ayurveda have to do with branding? So I struggled with it myself, but this little voice just kept nagging at me like, you have to do this, you have to do this. Gave me the name. I thought the Brand in the Mirror. I was like, ooh, that's very cool. I like that. But it all came together. So the second I started trusting in the voice, it all started weaving together. And I really think that if you're a business owner or you have hopes of one day owning your own business, I think it's really important to take this course. There's also a lot of back-end stuff too, like how are you billing your clients? Are you sending invoices? How are you accepting payments? There's a lot of tools. Do you want to invest in a designer to spend the money to develop a brand, or is your budget a little bit more limited right now? So we're going to talk about all of those things. Everything that I've learned over the past 20 years has been a really hard lesson. Like I said, it's trial and a lot of error. And if I can help another business owner sort of streamline and run their business with ease and grace, I want to do that.
That's exciting. It's like I'm just starting and like basically what you're doing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would really benefit from that. And I hope some listeners will jump on this opportunity to get this special discount that she's offering for us. It's really amazing. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for being on, spend time with us.
No problem. I just want to say one thing. The way everybody could sign up for my newsletter is going to burstofshakti.com. That's BURSTOF Shakti SHAKTI.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there. You'll find out when the course launches, and if you use your coupon code, you get $50 off. And I hope to see you there. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And again, the code is Yogacises50.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
yeah, I'll make sure that I have all the links, and afterwards, when we're done, you could just send me your the links that you just mentioned, and then I'll just post that below the description, so
Sure
everybody
thing.
sees that.
You got it.
All right.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. You too.
Bye.